Hey, good morning. Okay, so this is going to be different. I'm going to be honest with you, I really didn't want to do this today. Um, Let me explain why. Have you ever got to spend a weekend with your wife or your husband and you just get away? It's kind of like a second honeymoon type thing. And it would be really bad form to come on and tell about an experience. And I was just going to keep it to myself. And I'll tell you, I'm a little shaken inside a little bit. Well, a lot. But a couple of weeks ago, I went to a workshop with some women. And at the end of the night, there were words spoken. But yeah, that's not it. It's this. We were soaking in worship. And the Lord began to give me a vision of kind of a rainbow butterfly, beautiful, going down a pathway. And it went on for some time, but this is why I want to share this. It came to a place where this butterfly was fluttering down this beautiful stone pathway. Uh, it was like almost almost a crisp fall evening, and there was dew on the grass even, and the sunlight was coming through the trees. It was so beautiful, this vision. And I remember an angel covering the path with his back toward me. Couldn't see his face. I think I had talked about this a little bit in one of the videos after it happened. So that butterfly disappeared behind the angel and I couldn't see it. But to the left, I began to see um, a spinning prism, like a spinning sun catcher, but it was cut in so many ways. And the colors that came from it were like the same colors that were um, on the butterfly. It's just a rainbow of colors. And then all of a sudden, I saw this. It was a ring, like a diamond ring, and it had just as many cuts, and it was radiating the same colorful light. And then all of a sudden, those disappeared, and the angel moved, I believe, and there were all these tiny little rainbow butterflies. And the rainbow butterfly that was going down the path was consumed and on fire. And so were all these little butterflies. They were just consumed. And that's what I wanted to share with you, and that's why I'm coming on. So this is crazy. I can't believe, and it just came as a revelation. Um, I had shared quite a few times that the Lord had said a few years ago that He was going to save the best for last. And He took me to the wedding of Cana, and He talked about where the stone water pots represented the weakness of man, of mankind, and where He was the wine that was served. But there was a consummation at this wedding. That's why He told the parable of the wedding, and it wasn't about the wedding itself. What He was showing us was the consummation of Him, His Spirit, and the bride of Christ, and how in that together they became the new wine, the best for last. So during that time, I was thinking He was talking and promising me about marriage. And I can't say, I just don't know. But this is coming today as a revelation of a lot of things, just coming together. And so I held that word in my heart. And when I was in Florida, He showed me that I was going to be married again. And after 12 years of being on my own with Him, it was like, no. And I'll tell you why I said that. It wasn't because of marriage itself. It was because when I was young and out of high school, we got married. I was with a guy who was wonderful, but we were just too young. I didn't understand what love was, and I think I was more in love with the idea of being in love. Then I met someone who I was really crazy about, and they died of a heart attack. And then God brought someone into my life that was like a Boaz and a Ruth. He was 20 years older than I was, and we were friends. And that's when God took me away from my father's house, so to speak, like Abraham, because I was in a terrible predicament and I wanted to run. And when this man told me that he was in love with me the day before we left, I was angry. I was angry because I didn't naturally have that falling in love feeling. Although he was wonderful, it had nothing to do with the people. It had to do with, I thought I was supposed to fall in love. I didn't know the Lord yet, but I knew that he knew me. Actually, I gave my heart to him when I was about 11, but I didn't know what the cross really meant. I really didn't know the Lord. And so he told me this, and I heard a voice, and I even said that all these years, and it wasn't his, but I heard, and he did say, but I heard, it was like I could hear God saying, you're going to learn to love me. So that took on a whole new meaning this morning. And when he passed away after an accident 11 years later, I got remarried, and the Lord just kept the lesson going. I was learning to love people with a love that God has, a covenant love, the agape love, a love of choice. And I really fought it. And I'm going to tell you why. I went to this Bible study when I was married again. And when I went to this Bible study, they were talking about husbands and wives, and how wives should submit to their husbands and women should respect. And I was cracking jokes. And the reason I was cracking jokes is because I was angry. I was angry on the inside because what I had witnessed in my life about that whole thing was that men lorded it over women. I grew up in more of an Italian place, and a lot of the culture had to do with that. Men were the leaders of the family, especially in the old Italian world, and women just did what they said, pretty much. And yeah, there were some feisty ones I met, but and I didn't want any part of that. I just didn't. And one of the reasons is I fought from the time I was born to come out and to know who I was. I was very cocky, very independent. I just wanted to be me. And through the enemy and people and so many circumstances and my own sin and mistakes, I lost myself. I lost myself, and I became like a turtle hiding in a shell. And when I began to come out again, later on when I was married, I really started to find again who I thought I was. I still didn't know Christ yet, or just met Jesus, just came to salvation, actually through the marriage to my children's dad, 20 years older. And I started to begin to come out. And when he died, I was a single parent for a short time, and that really put the responsibility on me, and I began to understand who I was, and I started to come out. And now I'm sitting in this Bible study in another marriage with people telling me that I have to lose myself in this relationship and lose myself even in God. And I'm like, no. So I excused myself, and people were laughing. I was cracking jokes, and they didn't know. And I actually got up, and I went outside, and I just kept walking. I walked all the way home, probably about 4 miles. And my husband and the kids came along later on, and they were kind of shocked. And my husband's like, what happened to you? And I said, I'm just struggling with some stuff. So we ended up talking about it a little bit. And I don't think he really understood the meaning of the love of God, the covenant, the love that God talks about between a husband and a wife. Both of us came from all that worldly stuff and a lot of hurt and a lot of pain and a lot of sin in our own lives and through others, and we just didn't get it. And so even though the Lord was bringing us along and we were opposites, and opposites are meant to complement, we just kind of banged into each other and conflicted, let's say. And so it was a very tumultuous marriage. I loved him, didn't know how I could live without him, and I didn't know what to do with him, and he felt the same way. And then he passed away. So I had a lot of regret and a lot of guilt, actually, as I started to learn about the love of God, and Jesus began really to teach me. And then when he promised marriage again, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I got the t-shirt. It's just been you and me. I'm fine. And anyway, I was laughing because a friend of mine who is a lot older than me said I was a headless woman, that I didn't have a head. And I got mad. I said, yes, I do. Jesus is the head of our home. And I'm his bride. And I'm going to be honest with you, there have been times, of course, over the years when I've struggled, to just go out to dinner, go shopping, have that family, that relationship, and grandkids and the whole 9 yards. And I've shared all that. But I said all that to bring it home here. The Lord has been teaching me and having me share the fruit of the Spirit and what it looks like. And when we got to the end of it yesterday afternoon, I went to the gym and I was like, God, what do you want to talk about next? I don't even have a clue where you want to go from here. And I was working out on the machinery, and all of a sudden I heard him say, glory. I want to talk to you about glory, the glory of God. And I was a little nervous because I was thinking, okay, this is just me. This is just me. This is just my flesh. This is just yada, yada, yada. And I was going on and on. And then when I got quiet again, he began to give me songs about the glory of God. Brandon Lake, Show Me Your Glory. The story of Moses when the glory fell on him. Third Day, Show Me Your Glory. And he just kept bringing everything about glory. And I was just really shaking kind of on the inside. And I came home and I was tired. I went to sleep. And when I woke up this morning, I said, Lord, what do you want to talk to me about today? What do you want to teach me? He said, glory. And I'm like, okay. And then I knew, because he started to tell me things like, I overshadowed Mary to conceive Jesus. I want to overshadow you. I want to overshadow my people to conceive your purpose and your destiny, to show Jesus to the world. And I just about lost my mind, because I'm just going to be honest here. I went to some events over the weekend that I had shared with you, and while it was amazing, my heart felt like I had a lead anchor in it, a weight, because I could see the love that a lot of people were showing in worship to the Lord, and he them. But as I looked across the crowds, I could see people that looked like they had a dazed look across their face. And I felt them saying, like, I just don't want to hear one more thing about the love of God. I don't want to hear one more sermon about what we should be doing. And they just look so lost. And I shared with a couple of people, I said, I just wish I could run down and run up on stage and take my ring and say, I'm engaged. And, usually when you announce that you're engaged as a wedding, everybody stops and they listen to the story. And I wanted to tell them, but you don't see my groom here. And then I just wanted to tell them about the love of Jesus and how falling in love with him changes everything in our lives. And I was thinking of this song Jason Gray sings, More Like Falling in Love. And I really believe that that's where the church is missing it, a big part of the bride, still yet. And because of all the cares in the world, the lawlessness, the sin, the distractions, because of the enemy, we miss that Jesus is crazy in love with us and wants us to be crazy in love with him. He's been showing me visions of the temple being filled with the Shekinah glory of God, to where Solomon, the king, and the priests, nobody could even stay in there. And butterfly, actually, I looked for it for so long I couldn't find it till yesterday. I looked for a butterfly actually being consumed in the flame. And in the shower this morning, the Lord was telling me, you know what? It's not just about being consumed. We use the word in the world, consume, because we are consumers. We consume everything around us like Satan does. It's almost like being a leech. We get onto things and we just suck life out of everything. We suck the life out of all of it till it's bone dry and there's nothing left. And you wonder why the Lord gave Ezekiel the vision of the dry bones. We just suck the life out of everything. And we're left dying in the desert with no meat, no flesh. We're just dry and almost dust. Our bones were done. And the Lord said to Ezekiel, do you think these bones can live? And he said, only you know, Lord. And the Lord told him to breathe prophetically, speak over these bones. And as he did, they began to rise up because it was the Ruach breath, the word of God, the Logos, the Ruach, the breath of God. He spoke over that and raised those bones up by the Spirit of God. The same resurrection power that was in Jesus, the same resurrection power that God uses to raise up, that lives in us. And the Lord said to me, it isn't just about being consumed. It's about giving. It's about a bride and her groom, about a husband and wife, and about the gift, the offering of yourself completely and fully. It isn't just about being ravished by love and being consumed. And in human terms, we don't even understand that. It's ugly in those terms, truly. It can be very ugly, very selfish, and very evil. But God meant it to be beautiful. And when we're consumed and ravished by love in the way that God says, it's a giving. At the same time we're being consumed by love through another and ravished and loved, we're giving the gift of ourselves completely and fully, without any reservations, with no reservations. And the same happens on the other side. The Lord gives up. We ravish and captivate and consume him with our love. And he gives us the gift completely and totally and fully of himself. And, it is a sacred romance. It's a divine romance. And, it made sense to me this morning, because what the Lord said to me this morning is, I told you when you were going to be married again that it was going to look different. So now I'm left wondering, and it's fine, because I'm understanding this divine romance, this sacred romance. And I really believe it has to do not with revival. Revival's been said so callously and so much over the years. And I believe what the Lord showed me when I was in Wilmington last year, but this is going to be a love revolution, a revolution of love. And that has no violence in it, except that his love is furious. And it's a burning flame, and he is a jealous God, and he loves his bride, and we're in love with him. And when that union happens, watch out, because I'll tell you, the cry of my heart and many others are, God, just come down like this meteor, boom, and just consume us and take us and show yourself in and through our lives so profoundly, so beautifully, that everyone around us will look and say, wow, God exists and he really is here. He really loves us. He's come again to us, to claim us as his own, as his first love. And it's about to happen, and it is happening already. And I'm nervous and I'm excited, but the Lord took me to a couple of albums this morning, older ones. Rick Pino, it was a spiritual warfare CD, Weapons of Our Warfare, I believe it was called. And there was some beautiful love songs in there. And then to Kalani Glockler, the Bending to Hear CD. And, he talked about just what he was putting in me about, and you can see on the cover of the album of Weapons of Our Warfare, how it was just that prayer of God just coming down in an explosion and just winning the hearts of people who don't know him. And just, wow. It's always been a little bit scary to me to talk about romance with God. What does that look like? And some people may say that's just weird, but it isn't. It's in the Song of Songs, and God speaks about the Song of Songs is a representation of Jesus and the bride, and about the Father with Israel. And in these days, the Lord said revival is not going to come through the places, just like when Jesus came. Wow, Lord, he's just given me this now, that you would expect. It's going to come through the broken ones like me and the cracked ones. And the Lord also said this, and if you're watching this, I want you to take this in. The Lord said to me, don't ever say that it's too late in your life. And I'm the example of that. He said, your womb may be closed, but I can open your spiritual womb and do what I please and give you the birth of the promise I've given you. It's never too late. And he's reminding me and did of Abraham and Sarah when they thought and knew it was beyond all natural ability for them to conceive a child. Yet God opened her womb and opened the womb of Rachel and opened the womb of Rebecca. God is going to open the womb of his people, and the destiny and purpose and plan that he has for your life is Jesus in seed form, and you're about ready to give birth. Have a great day.